The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, it's me, Devyn Michaels. Come say hi.
Anything unique about the body?
I think initially, obviously, that it was decapitated.
For you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and...
You pled guilty, man.
If he had known you were having a sexual relationship with his mother of his children,
I'm not going to stop fighting to prove my innocence.
Devyn Michaels, in her own words, the jury getting to hear more of a police interview. What will they think of the former porn star defendant? Plus, was teenager Celeste Rivas Hernandez murdered? The LAPD believes maybe not. So how did she end up in singer David's trunk? And we're spotlighting the arrest of Ashley Buzzard. The mother was taken into custody on unrelated charges to her daughter's missing persons case. Also this hour, comparing Frazier Michael Baum to Brian Kohlberger. The passionate arguments from Alan Jackson will take you inside a California courtroom to hear a motion hearing in the sorority sisters murder case. It's all next right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Ted Rollins in for Julie Grant. It is November 11th, which of course is Veterans Day. We acknowledge and thank all of those who have served. Today is a federal holiday, meaning courthouses around the country closed. But we've got a lot to get to this morning, including a couple hearings from yesterday that will be rolling out. Let's take a look at a little different version of our daily docket on this Tuesday.
These are the same charges that Brian Kohlberger is facing. That's the point. Brian Kohlberger broke into a dorm and slaughtered 4 people. He's facing 4 counts of murder, a plea deal. 4 counts of murder. It's murder, Judge. That's the point.
Alan Jackson on fire yesterday. We are going to roll out that entire hearing from yesterday in the sorority sisters murder case for Frazier Michael Baum. It was something else, full of passion. We'll watch it all. Jackson was in fine form. And then once that wraps up, around 11 o'clock, we're going to head to Kansas. And this was very emotional on a different level. Defendant Christina Schroer. She pled guilty, no contest, to killing her 6-year-old adopted daughter, little Kennedy. Her body was found buried in a backyard. You're going to hear the emotional impact statements given before the judge. So, busy morning. Let's get to it. But we're starting Vegas. And that crazy trial, the deadly love triangle trial, getting a glimpse into the mind of Defendant Devyn Michaels as more of her police interview was played out yesterday in court. The former porn star is accused of bludgeoning and beheading her ex-boyfriend, Jonathan Willett, in a love triangle. She's married, of course, to the victim's son in this case, Devyn. He was from a previous marriage. The defense is pointing the finger at Devyn, saying that the boy did it. The boy killed his dad. While on Monday, a second police interview was played for the jury. Here's a portion of where detectives say to her, "Listen, honey, these things are just not adding up."
I really don't want to beat around the bush at this point now, because before I was giving you the benefit of the doubt with everything, okay? But like I say, things just aren't adding up.
So I have decided that if I just be nice to him, I can get my girls, because the court, when we went for custody, he didn't even show up. And the judge had us wait an extra hour to see if he was going to show up, just to give him the benefit of the doubt. And they still granted him physical custody. They denied his motion for sole custody, but they still granted him the physical custody of the girls. I have tried to do everything through the system. So right now, all I'm trying to do is make sure I just be nice and get my girls.
All right, so what does the judge think, or the jury think of this former porn star defendant? What do you think about? What do we think about her? Because this is a weird case. Did she really kill him and chop his head off, then take the head out, use a power tool to do it? Let's talk about it. In studio with us, criminal defense attorney Mark Begno and criminal law and civil rights attorney Melba Pearson is with us as well. Good morning to both of you. Mark, let's overall thoughts on this one. We're getting more from the defendant via these police interviews, which is usually a fantastic way for jurors to get to the bottom of it, right?
Sure.
If the defendant doesn't take the stand, this is their version, right? This is what they get. What do you think happened here?
I mean, I don't even know where to start on this one. I think that you're right. It usually is a fantastic way for there to be a clear narrative that the defendant articulates that is their story. This is what happened. You know, somebody else did it. I have an alibi. It was a crime of passion. Here, we don't have a clear narrative. I mean, I don't think that we have anything clean or anything that makes any sense that's coming from the defense side, at least in these interviews and in these conversations. I think that we're all a little bewildered by everything in this case. And so I don't think that she's giving the jury a lot to go with, or that we have a lot to go with in the statements that she's making in these interviews. I think the whole situation is just insane.
Yeah, and Melba, first of all, the family dynamics. You've got the defendant has 2 children with the decedent and then marries his son from a previous marriage. And then he's going to move in, and next thing you know, he's dead, and where's his head? Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, good morning, Ted and Mark. And yeah, this is feeling very much like a made-for-TV movie. I fully anticipate within a year of the verdict that there's going to be some sort of show about that, because you just can't make this up. And I think the different dynamics, so to speak, of this family is not going to bode well in the eyes of the jury. I think that a lot of folks, unless... For the defendant, correct. For the defendant, because I think they're going to be looking at her sideways like, okay, wait, what? Like, how is this even working? And then, of course, when we're thinking about the statement she made and how it was very much about the child custody, that also kind of sets up a motive for murder, right? So, but at the end of the day, the prosecution just needs to focus on, you know, listen, there's no other reasonable explanation for this death other than the defendant did it. And the reason why may be questionable, it may be multiple reasons, but at the end of the day, the evidence points to her, and I think that's where the prosecution has to go with this.
Yeah, and there seems to be some mental instability, at least there was during some pretrial hearings with this defendant. She ended up initially pleading. She was like, all right, I'm going to plead, I'm involved. Then she changes her mind. Take a listen to her in court, just kind of going off.
The way that they manipulated and altered and deleted things is wrong. They should not be able to do it, and they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and...
You pled guilty, man.
Mr. Michaels, you are not to address the state. You are to address me. You are. You're addressing Mr. Dunning. You are going to address me.
I don't know what to do anymore.
Judge, I'm not comfortable with this record. I'm willing to let her out of her plea if the court's inclined.
I don't know how to face this.
Ms. Michaels, I need you to understand what I'm saying to you and answer my question.
Yes.
Do you want to withdraw your plea and go to trial?
Yes, please.
All right. This plea is going to be withdrawn.
And that's why we're here, because she withdrew the... What do you take from that? And the jury's not going to see that, obviously.
Of course, yeah. I mean, a lot of things. I mean, I don't even know which angle to come at it. I mean, given that we're at this point in the trial, if I'm a defense lawyer, I'm evaluating that to see whether or not I can put my client on the stand. And I'm seeing that, and I'm saying, oh my God, like I can't put my client on the stand. But at the same time, at this point in the trial, with the evidence that we know, as we were just talking about, I mean, I think you've got to put your client on the stand because you don't have another narrative that you can put forward. So if I'm a defense attorney here, I'm terrified because I don't have any good options. I can't put her up, and I can't not put her up.
And the defense here, Melba, is that the boy did it, that he had the motivation because his dad was going to be moving into the house with the 2 kids, and that would ruin his marriage with his wife, because remember, they're married, and he had access to power tools. He would have the rage that maybe she wouldn't have. Your thoughts on them pointing the finger at another individual who testified in front of the jury? Smart?
I mean, again, you can only work with what you have. And, you know, under the U.S. Constitution, you're entitled to a defense, but it doesn't mean you're entitled to a winning defense. So if what you have is, hey, let's blame the son, then that's what they have to work with. And it could be plausible if you look at it completely objectively. But at the same token, when you look at the evidence and just in terms of the other witnesses and the timing and where people were and all of that, it doesn't make sense, right? But again, it's a viable option as a defense, but I don't think it's going to be a winning defense.
Mark, is there a sense that a man should have or must have done this? There's no blood spatter around this headless body. There's a very clean cut of the neck. This seems to be a crime of passion, yet also maybe it's stereotypical, but could a juror or two think, well, how did this woman pull this off?
I mean, I think you're right. I think we're, you know, there's an aspect of this that is kind of stereotypically more, you know, kind of aggro, kind of, you know, where you're talking about cutting off somebody's head with a power tool. I mean, that's just a, you know, an
horror movie. That's out of a horror movie.
That's out of a horror movie. I did note that when one of the, I think it was one of the medical examiners or one of the forensic experts who was asked about, you know, is this a hard tool to work with? And the answer was, well, the tool does all the work. Mm-hmm. And I think that might be a phrase that we hear. If that's something that comes up in the trial, that could be a phrase that the prosecution could seize on in closing and say, like, look, you guys might think that she's too, you know, she might not be able to do this, but the tool does all the work.
Yeah, they did, you know, the defense is setting that up. You know, it's going to come up in close because they asked him, the suspected husband / son of the decedent, about his access to power tools. Mm-hmm. And he admitted that he did through his job of installing security cameras. So we'll see. Weird case. They're dark today, giving jurors a break, and they'll be back at it tomorrow. Coming up on opening statements, the investigation into teenager Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
I was such an internet kid. The internet is really what I claim as my home. Like, if you ask me where I'm from, I say the internet, because I was just online every day, doing my schoolwork, making songs, making a video, being a YouTuber, content creator, posting TikToks, posting on Instagram. Like, that's really my neighborhood was Instagram, and the society was the internet. You know what I'm saying?
That's David. A lot of suspicion around him. How did his friend get into a trunk? The frunk of that Tesla? Could she have done it herself? We'll talk about the ongoing investigation and the latest. Plus, Melody Buzzard has been missing for 4 weeks now. Her mother has been arrested, but unrelated charges to the missing person case. What does it mean? We'll break it down when we return.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Weeks after the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found in the trunk of singer David's Tesla, investigators remain unclear about whether or not the teen was murdered. That's David, the singer, whose real name is David Anthony Burke. He burst onto the scene back in 2022. He's at the center of this investigation. It was his Tesla, his house that he was renting. He's got the career. He wasn't named a suspect, but has basically been the focus of this case. His career is put on hold. He had to cancel his tours. Let's face it, he's the focus. Now, the LAPD is standing by their September statement on the investigation, saying in part, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not yet determined the cause or manner of death of Ms. Rivas Hernandez's death. As such, it remains unclear whether there's any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of her body. But how else could somebody get into the trunk? Just the frunk, you know, the front part of a Tesla truck. It has that front compartment. That's where she was found. And could she have theoretically put herself in that position? Could she have gotten in there? Well, maybe. Let's talk about it with our guests. There we go. We've added Claudia King to our discussion. Melba and Mark still with us. Welcome, Claudia, this is such a strange case. You would think by this time that there'd be surveillance video. You know, these Teslas, they have cameras around them, the cars themselves, that something would have erupted where either the investigators would say, listen, no foul play in terms of this David, or we have an arrest warrant. What are your thoughts here in terms of this investigation, and why we haven't heard anything definitive?
Good morning, everyone. Well, I think that they have a lot more to do in terms of the investigation, and they want to make sure that they get it right. And part of that is going to be, if they can determine it, finding the cause of death. So I think that is first and foremost, and then I'm sure they are pouring through surveillance, text messages, witness statements, but I think especially with this particular suspect, who's not really a suspect, they want to get it right before talking about any charges or actually charging him with anything.
Makes sense. Melba, what's your gut feeling here on what happened? And even that statement, it said, no criminal activity except getting rid of the body is basically what they're saying. I mean, isn't that's criminal activity? If someone's dead in your house, no matter how they died, you don't just put them in the front of a Tesla truck.
Well, here's the weird thing. It's not necessarily illegal to not report an accidental death. That's the weird thing that's kind of, I think, throwing everybody off, because you would think, oh my gosh, somebody passed away in your house, you must immediately call, something along those lines. No, it's a matter of what you do with the body afterwards, sadly. And so this poor child ended up in this frunk, right, basically, but it could be a complete like a medical issue, like she, had a horrible asthma attack and passed away, or there could have been drug use. But again, for the fact that they're saying there's no criminal activity, and usually the drug that would kill you, something that would kill you, fentanyl, cocaine, whatever the case may be, they're saying there's no criminal activity. That to me says that there's not an overdose. So again, if this was natural causes and she was just improperly concealed, it's still awful, but I think that definitely changes the complexion of what we're looking at here.
And time is a factor here, is it not, in terms of the decomposition of the body, David? This body was in this front for an extended period of time. The only reason they found it was because it was the car was impounded, and it smelled, and they said, oh my gosh, something's wrong here. So cause of death is key, and that may not, at the end of the day, ever be determined.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that is what is largely driving the fact that we don't have a real answer right now, is the fact that the body was so decomposed and we don't have a real answer. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, when I'm looking at this case, I think that 99 times out of 100, if you've got a body in your trunk, then that body got killed. But we just don't have evidence of that, is what we're hearing. And Ted, I think you're absolutely right that a lot of the reason that we don't have any concrete evidence is the age, is the amount of decomposition that we see.
Because she's not an 80-year-old woman that died in her sleep. Something happened here, and that's what her family wants to know. So what's the question now is, what's next for David, the singer? His career is basically on hold. He hasn't been named a suspect, but we all know, post Richard Jewell, nobody is named a suspect until they're in cuffs. That's just the way things go. But if police are only considering the concealment of the teen's body, not the murder, here's a look at the penalties attached to concealment under California law. Actively concealing an accidental death is a misdemeanor. Penalties include up to a year in county jail, a fine of $1,000 or $10,000. I mean, this is nothing, right? So if this is the scenario at the end of the day, well, the singer David's going to say, "Yeah, sign me up. I concealed the body." Claudia, is that where this is going?
It's very possible that related to this, that's where this is going. And if he doesn't have a criminal record, then he's not even likely going to get those sentences that you just showed on the screen. The one thing that I'm wondering, though, about also is their relationship, because there's still that issue of consent, statutory rape. What's going on there? So I'm curious if that part is still being dug into, regardless of her death and what they can prove with that.
Yeah, in Melba, there was, they clearly had a relationship. It may have been platonic, may have been physical. She's underage. This investigation may have triggered, to Claudia's point, another investigation at Melba, so this may not be over for the singer.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think regardless of what happens with this case, his career might be over, at least for the foreseeable future. Maybe he may see a comeback, much like maybe Chris Brown, where some time elapsed between what happened with him and Rihanna. But yeah, I don't see much in the way of a future for him in the entertainment industry. And I definitely think they should look into the underage relationship that was happening here. And I think it was a physical one based on lyrics, based on just sort of what was said at the time, and even looking at videos of their interaction.
Yeah, and his supposed home, the internet, is steaming with allegations of inappropriate sex between David and this now deceased young woman. All allegations, all internet nonsense. But Mark, to Melba's point, this isn't a guy that's going to make a comeback, because he really was just on the trajectory. He was just starting out. And if you're another artist, there's a lot to unpack here from a career standpoint. He might be done.
I mean, I think you're right. I mean, you've got... I mean, it's one thing to come back from some crimes. I mean, even if you go so high as trafficking drugs, you know, we know hip-hop moguls who have that type of a history, but a 14-year-old found in your trunk, I mean, you don't recover from that in any universe, I don't think.
Yeah, well, you never say never. Ladies, thank you. Mark's here to stick around. Still ahead on opening statements.
We know that Melody was still with Ashley on that return trip, as close as the Colorado-Utah border on the Colorado side on October 9th.
Ashley Buzzard arrested, but it has nothing to do with the disappearance of her daughter, Melody. What does that mean? We'll talk about that. And a deadly Malibu crash ended up killing 4 Pepperdine sorority sisters. The defendant wants his murder charges dropped.
Don't supplant emotion for the law. It was tragic. It was emotional. It's devastating. But it wasn't a murder.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
We're doing multiple searches, and that we're utilizing our partners at the FBI that have some really, great equipment, training, experienced people, all of those things. We're coming at this investigation with from every angle and with everything that we have access to.
We have not been able to locate the child as of yet.
We want answers! We want answers!
This morning, the spotlight is on the mother of a missing 9-year-old girl after she was arrested on unrelated charges. But exactly how unrelated are they? Ashley Buzzard, taken into custody November 7th on one count of felony false imprisonment for an incident that occurred in Lompoc, California. The sheriff's office says has nothing to do with the disappearance of her daughter, Melody. What could it be? Melody has been missing for 4 weeks now. Investigators say her mother has not been cooperative. The little girl was last seen on surveillance video with her mother October 7th wearing a wig, they were both wearing wigs, at a car rental agency in California before they took a cross-country trip. Investigators also believe that Ashley Buzzard swapped wigs throughout the trip to avoid being recognized. And look closely, because Ashley was wearing that same wig when she was arrested. And more importantly, of course, where is Melody? Here to discuss, retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. The hope is that she's alive. And it is such a strange set of circumstances that there's a chance that she is. Let's start with this arrest. She's taken into custody. and right away we're told it has nothing to do with it. It clearly has something to do with this and that they want her in custody, right? I mean, from an FBI standpoint, what's going on in terms of taking her into custody?
Well, now, of course, we're learning more about that situation. It apparently happened on November 6th, and it involved a male that she actually sequestered and actually put locks on. Anyway, she finally let this male out. He leaves and goes straight to authorities and reports this. And the reason that law enforcement, of course, has to take her in, not only the fact that she's violated a criminal charge, but she's a danger to the community. Right now, it's spilling out into other individuals beyond her daughter, which we really don't know what's happened to her daughter yet.
Yeah, and I mean, again, the hope is that her daughter is somehow alive. She's completely, seems to be unhinged. Melody's father died in a motorcycle accident when she was just 6 months old, and apparently there's no really family that has seen Melody since. So mom has kept her away from everyone, and that adds another difficulty, sense of difficulty for investigators, does it not? Because you don't have people coming out of the woodwork saying, well, yes, I saw this, I saw that, I saw that with this young woman. What scenario could she still be alive? Could she have maybe taken her somewhere because of this weird relationship with in-laws, and in her mind, she's protecting her somehow?
Well, you bring up a great point, because it has been years since the father's side of the family have seen her. Recall that she was taken away and put in uncle's custody back in about 5 years ago. But quickly she got custody back of little Melody. And her mother, Ashley's mother, the last time she saw Melody was almost 2 years ago. So this causes an issue because nobody's really in Melody's life but Ashley, her mother. But as far as a scenario that could lead us to believe she's alive, look, it's getting very bleak at this point. A month has gone by, and furthermore, there's been not a peep from anyone about Melody being seen or being alive since that trip on the 9th.
And Ashley has not cooperated, which makes it even more difficult. So you sit and you think about all the scenarios of this little 9-year-old out there by herself, possibly, or with someone else who maybe is not the most wonderful person. But that's the upside, because the reality is there's a chance that she may not be with us anymore. It's a horrible case. Let's take a look at basically the details of what happened here. October 7th, 2025, she leaves Ashley, California, with Melody, driving this rented Chevy Malibu. Detectives believe that Ashley and Melody traveled as far as Nebraska with a return route that included Kansas. The Malibu was observed with a New York license plate on October 8th. October 9th was the last time that they were seen on video near the Colorado-Utah border. So, Jennifer, they're going on this wild sort of route. It's hard to make sense of it. What is the FBI going to do to try to piece together this incredibly difficult puzzle?
Well, it is difficult, but the good news is there is a route that's been determined and very particular stops. So that means there's going to be potential witnesses, there's going to be potential video, and all of that can be used to determine exactly when she really did disappear. How much further did she make it down the road? This is gumshoe investigation. In other words, these are agents that are going to be out knocking on doors, going to businesses. That's how this case is going to be solved, and with the public's help.
Here's Melody's maternal grandmother talking to local television during the search.
What were your first thoughts when you saw this image?
I was totally numb and in shock. This is just so shocking to me, and that my granddaughter is dressed in a disguise. This is just so overwhelming. It's just so really scary.
You're saying that her father's family, his people,
and my family,
and your family are along those routes.
Utah.
Utah.
Yeah, Utah. When you start getting past Utah, coming back, that's when you're running into his friends. You need to tell them where the baby is. You need to tell them who's setting all these things up for you. I know you're not doing it.
That, there's that sense that she's not doing this alone, that there's someone else out there. And is that a real scenario? If it is, you would think anyone who had any connection to Ashley and Melody, the FBI would have already, gone investigated, right? Because this is pretty basic, this first level stuff.
Yeah, this is first level. You're going to go to the relatives. You're going to determine what relatives do live in this area, friends, associates of the deceased father. This is just 101. That's the first steps that you're going to take. So I believe they've already been contacted. Remember, she's 9. She's school age. She would be in school for anybody who's legitimate that could be keeping her. Plus, I just don't know that Melody or Ashley would ever give up sort of possession of Melody. This has been somebody she's kept sequestered in her sole presence all these years, and she's going to let her go. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
But does it make sense that she'd kill her? I mean, she's alive and part of this trip, right? So the reason for this trip, if you're thinking she killed her, well, then she rented a car with the sole purpose of killing her 9-year-old that she, to your point, has coveted and kept like a treasure.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. We are not dealing with anybody that is in a normal psychological place from all accounts. We're dealing with somebody that might be in a Lori Vallow type, at least showing those sorts of issues. And perhaps that is her reasoning, that she even more so lost her mind, concerned that her daughter was going to be taken away from her. She didn't want to lose that control. And that was what we call the proximal event that caused her to go on this trip and take her daughter and remove her.
Last, is this someone you put the white light on and you interrogate hard, even if she's not really cooperative? Do you keep trying if you're the FBI working this case?
Well, I don't think she's going to cooperate. I don't think she's going to talk. There's nothing telling us that she is. We've seen cases like this before, and particularly in cases of a parental kidnapping type situation. Even though she had custody, she's still sequestering her daughter and not telling anybody what she did with her. Typically, those individuals do not talk.
Well, we hope and pray that somehow, some way, little Melody is okay and will be found. Jennifer, as always, thank you. Coming up next on Opening Statements.
These are the same charges that Bryan Kohberger is facing. That's the point.
Oh, what a hearing. Alan Jackson all in as he tries to get the top charges thrown out on behalf of his client, who took the lives of 4 Pepperdine sorority sisters. We're going to head to California next.
This is the Court TV podcast.
We're going to turn our attention now to California for the sorority sisters murder case, where Frazier Michael Bohm, the man behind the wheel in a fatal crash killing 4 Pepperdine University sorority sisters, faced a judge yesterday. Bohm asked the judge to dismiss murder charges. Actually, his lawyer did. Karen reads Alan Jackson, and boy, was he on fire. Jackson said there's insufficient evidence to support murder charges. That's what he's facing. He said, yeah, Judge, this is way overcharged. Take a listen.
I'm saying that there was not a high probability of death such that Frazier Bohm should be saddled with murder charges. These are the same charges that Bryan Kohberger is facing. That's the point. Bryan Kohberger broke into a dorm and slaughtered 4 people. He's facing 4 counts of murder, a plea deal. 4 counts of murder. It's murder, Judge. That's the point.
Judge ended up denying the motion to drop those murder charges. Now the March trial moves forward. Bohm faces 4 counts, as you heard, of murder and 4 counts of vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence for the deaths of 4 21-year-olds. Those top charges are what Jackson wants off. We'll see. We're going to play out that entire hearing. But first, let's talk to Mark Magno about this. Was this overcharged? You have these victims who are beautiful young sorority sisters who are just about to begin their lives, and they're dead. Yeah. They're dead because this numbskull was going 100 miles an hour on PCH, which has a speed limit of 45.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it is overcharged as murder. I mean, as Alan Jackson was arguing very well and very passionately in front of the judge, you know, murder is what we see for intentional killings. It's what we see for the Kohbergers of the world, and this is not that. This is different from that. So I do think it's overcharged, but I also understand kind of stepping back a little bit. You know, you've got the DA's office, you've got the public who is seeing this just horrible thing that happened. You see these 4 young women who lost their lives at the beginning of their lives, and the community's asking for justice. The DA's office is looking for justice, and I understand how in that circumstance you can have a charge that kind of pushes the envelope on what ought to be charged in a case like this.
Jackson, very animated in this hearing because the stakes are very high. When you have for a potential jury a choice of this and then something here, here, and here, you may end up here. You know, the jury may agree with Jackson, but if he could go into the trial here,
right,
that's a game changer.
Right. And that's why he's doing it. I mean, he's trying to take off the top charge. It impacts plea negotiations. It impacts compromise verdicts if you've got a jury that, you know, kind of comes at the middle. He's got an uphill battle in this hearing, though, because typically judges don't take those away. You know, typically the way that we look at it is the DA's office makes the charging decision, puts it up in front of the jury, the judge calls balls and strikes in that process. So it really is a big ask for a judge to take away the top charge, because usually that's a decision that we give a lot of discretion to prosecutors to make.
Yeah, there's no real remedy if we know he loses this. This judge denied his motion, and there's nowhere to go, is there? I mean, it's not something that you're going to appeal at this stage of a trial.
Typically, no. It's called an interlocutory appeal. Is an appeal before you go to trial, and those are rare. In a lot of states, you can ask the judge for permission to do that, and if the judge agrees that it's the sort of thing that needs to be cleared up before trial, then you can go to appellate courts. But that's very rare, and this is not the type of a situation where we usually or ever really see interlocutory appeals.
So it's going to be up to a California jury. What kind of a juror do you want, and what do you want to avoid in a case where we talked about this yesterday? This kid, he is a poster boy for spoiled rich kid with a BMW driving 100 miles an hour.
It's hard to find good jurors in a case like this. I mean, again, you've got just, you know, even looking at the picture of the 4 young ladies who were killed. I mean, it's just horrible. You want somebody who's going to be sympathetic, have some level of sympathy for a kid, rich kid, out there speeding really aggressively. And so, I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, I could think about stereotypically what types of jurors would, you know, kind of fit that. Fit in that universe, and it would be the kind of person who would be friends with a young man who is doing that. In an ideal world as the defense, you want somebody who's sympathetic to somebody who is out there, you know, kind of disregarding people's lives like that. I think those jurors are hard to find, and I think the state strikes all of them.
His age, he's 24, I believe now. That should help him, give him a little, you know, dumb kid kind of scenario. Oh, I remember when I was a kid, I drove fast.
Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah, I mean, I think that helps. I think that's probably the biggest help. I think that and the fact that, you know, there was no blood or there was no alcohol in his bloodstream or anything like that, so you don't have somebody who's going that far. Obviously, we all hate that. The jurors would hate that. And so he gets some level of break, hopefully, some level of, you know, a jury understanding that he's a kid and he's making a stupid decision. But that really only goes so far.
And we're talking about a piece of the California Highway 1, Pacific Coast Highway, PCH as it's called. This is, you know, the James Dean Dead Man's Curve. Yeah. And so locals will know, oh my gosh, he was doing 100?
Yeah.
And that's a big number.
Yeah, that's a big, I've driven the PCH. Like, I'm probably going under the speed limit. I mean, I'm scared of heights, and so there's, you know, cliffs and everything. But still, it's not a highway. If you've ever been on it or ever seen it, it's not that any reasonable human is going to look at it and say, like, you should be doing over the speed limit or more than twice the speed limit. I mean, that's terrifying to even think of, and terrifying that he did that.
Yeah, part of the defense is that there was some sort of incident with another driver, that it's going to be something to watch. Mark, thank you.
That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on CourtTV.com.